In this video tutorial, we will be reviewing how to complete the speech and language report if you have completed a language evaluation. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up the report. Alright, it's all blank right now. Nothing in there yet. It's just the template. Alright, so what you can't see is that in front of me at my desk, I have a classroom observation for language, an observational rating scale. I have MTSS information and data, as well as a SelfFive language screener that's been scored, and a SelfFive record form which has also been scored. So that information is sitting at my desk with me right now while I work on this report. So to protect the privacy of my student, I'm going to go ahead and enter in some bogus student information. Alright, I'm going to choose from this drop-down text box what grade she's in. She's 9 years, 0 months old, and she is not currently in any programs, and she does not receive ESOL services. Alright, so my student information has now been filled out. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. The reason for the report, I'm going to say initial evaluation. The area that was evaluated was language. And the date that I completed my evaluation on Louise was 5/13/15. And Louise did not receive a bilingual evaluation. And the formal test that was administered was the SelfFive. Okay, so now I have student information completed, and now I also have the report information completed. So the next section is observations. I'm going to click so that my cursor is over here, and I'm going to go ahead and choose something from my auto text. I can access it here, or I can go to Insert, Quick Parts. Oops, I apologize. I didn't mean to click on that. There we go. And auto text. So I'm going to scroll down to the observations checklist section. The observations checklist category is right here. You can see it's gray, so it tells us it's the start of a new category. And I'm going to scroll down to find the classroom observation for language. I have that completed. I have the paperwork right in front of me. I want to include it in my report. So I'm going to click on that. This populates information. So I'm going to go ahead and read through all of the statements for you since this is new. It says a classroom observation for language was completed on 1/20/15. The student was observed during reading with a pupil-teacher ratio of 16 to 20 students and a classroom arrangement of, let's see, this one was grouped desks. During the observation, the student demonstrated the following strengths. I'll enter those in just 1 second. And the student demonstrated the following difficulties. I'll enter those in just 1 second. I wanted to show you real quick that you saw that this was a drop-down text box. If for some reason when I did this observation none of these options applied, I can type in whatever I want. If I wanted to type in, let's see, kidney table, I could type that in. So just because there are options here, yes, you can select them. For me, it was group desks, so I'm going to select that. But in these text boxes, you can also type in whatever you want. Even if it is a drop down, even if it is a calendar. You can type in whatever you want. All right, so the strengths. The strengths that were demonstrated included attending to teacher instruction, so you can see that the strengths I entered in included attending to teacher instruction, frequently volunteering to respond to questions, and interacting appropriately with peers. All right, the student demonstrated the following difficulties. So let's see, some difficulties that I observed were responding to questions. I'm going to say responding correctly to questions. Let's see. He had difficulty responding correctly to questions and attending to tasks. All right, so there we go. That's done. All right, now let's see. I've got that paper on my report now, so I'm going to go ahead and move it to a different pile so I don't get confused. So let's see, the next thing. The next section we have is the parent, student, teacher input section. So for that one, I'm going to go ahead and enter the ORs in here. So I've got my cursor set over here. I'm going to go to Insert, Quick Parts, Auto Text, and I'm going to scroll down to the Observation Checklist category. There it is right there. And I'm going to try and see if I can find the ORs. There it is right there. All right, I'm going to scroll back up a little bit. The Clinical Evaluation of Language Fundamentals 5th edition, SelfFive Observational Rating Scale ORS was completed on, this was completed on 4/20 of 15 by the student's teacher. The ORS addresses the following areas related to language: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. The student demonstrated the following strengths. So the strengths that were noted by the teacher included, let's see, looking at people while communicating, and not getting upset if others don't understand him. Wait, hold on. Looking at people while communicating and not getting upset if others don't understand what has been communicated. All right, the student demonstrated the following difficulties. Some difficulties that were noted on this observational rating scale included paying attention, remembering what others say, answering questions, using correct grammar, and I'm going to turn my page over just to see if I missed anything else, and explaining what was read. All right, perfect. All right, so that's done. I'm going to go ahead and move my ORs out of the way so I know that one's done too. Let's see, so let me see what our next section is. Oh, our next section is MTSS or therapy data. Perfect. So I have some MTSS data, and I've got data from the teacher at the time I completed Tier 3 MTSS with the student. So I have that data as well, and then I have the SelfFive. So I'm going to go to my auto text and just double check because I can't quite remember what MTSS auto texts are here. So I'm going to scroll down real quick and I'm going to go to the MTSS section. And it looks like I've got one for the language screener and one that says general. So I'm going to start with the general one and see what that says. It says the multi-tiered system of supports MTSS process was implemented due to the student demonstrating academic and or behavioral difficulties. Results of interventions indicated that the student's rate of progress was insufficient and the student required sustained and substantial effort to close the achievement gap. All right, so that applies for sure. We went through the MTSS process. He had difficulty the whole way through. That's what got us to the evaluation process. So that worked out. All right, I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to go ahead and put in the SelfFive language screener. So I'm going to scroll back down to the MTSS. I'm going to click on SelfFive language screener. It's going to populate that. So the MTSS team concluded that the SelfFive language screener was warranted to further determine the student's area of need. The SelfFive language screener was completed on, so let me get that paper organized. Let's see, that was completed on 1/20 of 15. See score summary below. All right, so the total score that Louise got was 7. And the age in years dash months is 6.0 to 6.5, and the criterion score is 11. This is all information I'm getting right from the SelfFive language screener. All right, so with that, I know that the student scored below the criterion score. 7 is below 11. This score indicates that. All right, so now I need to come up with a little maybe summary statement, just a quick sentence, maybe a little one-liner about what this score means. So I'm going to say this score indicates that the student demonstrates difficulties in areas relating to language. You can put whatever you want here. I just wanted to throw something in so you could see what it looks like. All right, so let's see. I've got a little MTSS introduction. I've got the SelfFive information. And then I think the last thing I want to include is some MTSS data. The teacher collected some MTSS data, and I did as well. At the time. So I want to enter some of that in. At this time, there is no auto text for that. So I'm just going to go ahead and start writing some stuff. Let's see. Results of MTSS interventions completed by the general education classroom teacher indicate that the student demonstrates difficulty. I'm going to look over at her data real quick, and it looks like there's difficulty in the area of phonics. All right, and then I'm just going to go ahead and put in a little summary of my MTSS data, because at the time we were collecting MTSS data, and I want that to be included. So, results of MTSS interventions. So this is a nice example of how I used auto text to get this. I used auto text to get this. And then because it's a Word document, I entered in my own information as well. All right, so I'm happy with that. I've got my MTSS section done. So I'm going to go ahead and scoot those papers out of the way. All right, evaluation results. Perfect. Let's see. I completed the SelfFive. So I'm going to go over to Insert. I'm going to go to Quick Parts, and I'm going to go to Auto Text. And within this Auto Text section, I'm going to look for the language category. There it is right there, language. I completed the SelfFive, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that. All right, I get all this great stuff. So, the Clinical Evaluation of Language Fundamentals 5th edition was administered on 5/13 of 15. SelfFive is a formal norm reference measure that evaluates a student's expressive and receptive language skills. See score summary below. All right, so test scaled scores. I'm going to go ahead and click on the bar graph. I'm going to go to Design. I'm going to click on Edit Data. I get my Excel spreadsheet that populates, and I'm going to go ahead and put in some categories. So we've got sentence comprehension, word structure, I've got word classes, and then, oh, wait a second, I've only got 4 areas here, and I still have more scaled scores that I want to report on. Well, all you do is type something in, and you're good to go. So I'm going to type in following directions and press enter, and there you go. It's come up right over here. All right, I still have one more that I need to enter in. Recalling sentences. I'm going to press enter. That one comes up over here too. All right, so let me go ahead and enter in some data. I've got 6, 3, 3, 7, 7, 6, and 5. Oops, I think I missed something. Sentence comprehension was 6, linguistic concepts 3, word structure was 3, word classes was 7, following directions was 7. Oh, formulated sentences. I'm sorry, I forgot a category. After following directions was formulated sentences, and that was a 6. And then this last one is recalling sentences. And that was 5. Okay, perfect. I'm going to hit the X, and there we go. That's all filled out. All right, index standard scores. I'm going to click on the graph. I'm going to go to Design, Edit Data, and let me scroll down just a little bit. There we go, so you can see. So let me enter in my scaled, or my standard scores. So we've got the core language score, and press enter. We have the receptive language index, expressive language index, language content index, and then finally the language structure index. Okay, perfect. So all of those came up down here on my graph. Let me enter in my standard scores. 73, 80, 70, 76, and 73. Awesome. All right, my bar graph is done. There we go. All right, and it looks like because of where everything is on the page right now, this got cut off. So I'm just going to click and hit enter so it's all on the next page. Now, this is a little bit of an overlap of the bar graph, and if you don't want the bar graph, it's fine, just delete it. But I'm going to go ahead and fill this out for you. Area evaluated, core language score. They got a standard score of 73 with confidence intervals of 68 to 78. And that is greater than 1 standard deviation below the mean. All right, let's see the next area that was evaluated. I've got receptive language index, and that was a standard score of 80 with confidence intervals of 74 to 86. I'm going to type that in. And the standard deviations from the mean, that is what? Greater than 1 standard deviation below the mean. Next section is expressive, and that standard score was 70 with confidence intervals of 64 to 76. I apologize, my dogs are wrestling again in the background, so I'm sorry for any background noise. Let's see, that is also what? Greater than 1 standard deviation below the mean. And we've got language content. I'm going to go ahead and select this last one. All right, and the language content standard score was 76 with confidence intervals of 71 to 81. That's greater than 1 standard deviation below the mean. And then the language structure index was a standard score of 73 with confidence intervals of 68 to 78. All right, perfect. So this chart is all filled out now. These scores indicate that, and this is where you're going to go ahead and summarize these scores and kind of what those results mean. So let's see. These scores indicate that demonstrates relative strengths in following directions, and word classes. The student demonstrates difficulty using difficulty with linguistic concepts, word structure, and recalling orally presented sentences. Okay, so this is just a quick summary statement that I've thrown in. You can put whatever you want about what these scores indicate. So I've got that done. So my SelfFive is done. So now I just come down to this summary statement. Based on observations, checklist, standardized or alternative measures, MTSS information, the student demonstrates the following strengths. I already kind of typed those from above. Let's see. The strengths that this student demonstrated were all right, so some of the strengths that the student demonstrated included let's see, demonstrating the following strengths. Frequently evolving volunteering to respond to questions and participating in academic activities. The student threw out observations based on the teacher information, based on my findings. This student always wanted to volunteer to respond to questions, although they weren't always right, and always wanted to participate in academic activities, even though she wasn't always on topic with her responses or her actions. And the following weaknesses: consistently responding to, let's see, I'm going to put auditory comprehension questions, staying on task, and using correct grammar. All right, you can add as much information in there as you want. I'm just going to leave it at that for now. So I'm going to say that Louise's present level of functioning indicates that communication skills do impact her ability to perform and or function in the typical learning environment. Factors related to chronological age, gender, culture, or ethnicity, as well as dialectal and or language differences were considered in this evaluation. For speech, I didn't do a speech evaluation, so I'm going to click NA. And for language, I'm going to say, does the student meet qualifying criteria for language? Yes. I'm going to go ahead and type in my name and my credentials. And then once I print out the report, I will go ahead and sign it there. And then the last thing I need to do is I need to edit this footer. So I'm going to go in real quick, and I am going to type in last name, comma, first name. Belcher, comma, Louise. All right, perfect. My report is done. That's it. All done. I know that took a while for us to go through, but there was a lot of stuff I read through for you. I hope that as you continue to use this report format, it won't take you as long as it took me right now in this tutorial. Hopefully you'll get the hang of everything. And of course, if you find any errors, if you have any questions or concerns or ideas, please share them with me.